Oh, all right. Hello, hello, hello. This is the RPG Crawler, and it is time once again for one of those, pay what you want and free role-playing game streams. People seem to like these, at least after the fact. They're not usually too well-watched when I'm actually streaming, but, man, this is yet another week where I actually get to stream out. Wow, this is... This is like four streams in a row. This is a first for my channel, I think. Yeah, I know they're weekly. I could do better, but I'm enjoying it so far. As always, this is going to be a collection of pay what you want in free tabletop role-playing game accessories, adventures, that sort of thing, from just all over the place. From DrivethruRPG. A number of these are incredibly basic. Some of them are actually pretty decent. If you've watched these before, the quality is kind of all over the place, but it's amusing. It's amusing. I will post links in the chat when I can, or else I should be able to post them in the chat. And I will get started here in just a second. Yeah, just figuring out what I want to do first. I got a list of how many we got tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. About 20 of them almost, give or take. And I say almost. I'm looking at the list right now. I say almost because some of them are multi-part, some of them aren't. We're going to take a look at a decent one first. It's a Creature Feature 2020 Pay What You Want sample. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you've probably seen Jeremy Hart's stuff on it before. I like what he does in terms of artwork and stats. He's been on a Old School Essentials kick lately. I'm only going to show the PDF. The actual file is basically a free sampling of some of the stuff he comes up with. He has a blog that not a blog. He's got a Patreon, and they do like monsters. He used to do 5th edition. Now he's focusing more on old school stuff, and they come with tabletop minis, artwork. Apparently there's cards in this one. What are the cards like? I can't really... There's got to be a way to show them on here. I just don't want to mess up too much. Let me open these. Let me open up. What the hell is cards? Because I don't want to show the contents of my thing in case people get... Oh, so they're like fold-over cards. They've got like the stat on one side and the creature on the other. So you can print them out and fold them up. Let me see if I can't get that going real quick. Let me add another input real quick. Window capture. And I'll try and get that moved down a little bit. And that didn't show anything. And it's not actually showing anything on my system. That doesn't bode well. Okay, here we go. So this is one of the things that comes in. This is his style of artwork. He does black and white illustrations, and I know it's upside down, but that's because you fold it in the middle, and then you've got the creatures art on one side to show your players, and then the stats on the other. I haven't really looked at Old School Essentials. I mean, I've taken a look. I'm starting to look at it, but it's not something I've really done a lot with thus far. So I'm still kind of easing into that, into the Old School Essential stuff. I may want to do a full review at some point, although I'm not sure when I would do it. I can't guarantee anything. In fact, I can't even guarantee I'm going to get a review out next week. I got 3 reviews in 3 weeks. That's like another first for my channel. I'm going to try and get one out, but it may just be something simple like an adventure. But yeah, this is the kind of thing you look at. You got the very basics of this card. But the main thing is going to be the actual book itself. And here we go. And again, if you've seen my channel, you've probably seen a review of some of his other stuff. He recently had another one a couple months back that was put out that I meant to review, but I never got around to it because stuff was kind of really stacked up here for a while. I may take a look at it. I don't know. But he's got a Patreon, so you can take a look at what he's got. Oh, come on. Tell me I can scroll down. Is this more than one? Oh, this is just the cover. This is just the cover. Here we go. Here's the table of contents. The sampler only has, what, 4? Yeah, it's only got 4. This is pay what you want sample of what he's doing this year. And here's his Patreon that has all the art and such. He's switched over to doing it for Old School Essentials. They've got your basic description. You've got your in-game stats. You've got your group of effects, and if they look more like something you'd see in like 5th edition, that's because it's coming from that background, or that may be standard for Old School Essentials. I don't know. I haven't really looked at it. And then they do like artwork, and he's got a pretty decent art style in this. And there's a person for reference on the sides, which is more useful than you'd think, because I cannot count the times where I thought like a creature looked really neat, but I had no idea of the scale. Like, none. So there is that. You know, he's got a couple of these. They come with a description, and these are usually pretty well written, although I have noticed a few errors from time to time in them, like usage errors, but nothing that really stands out. You get some lore, the ecology of it, and that all reminds me of the old 2nd edition monster manual stuff, where it's got like you got like climate, habitat, ecology, that sort of thing, all in the monster entry. So that's actually a good thing. And then they've got seeds in here, which are basically adventure seeds, as well as sample loot. Yeah, this looks pretty standard for what he's got, what he's had in the past. Got some decent humanoid stuff. Seems to be fond of really kind of monstrous kind of things. Things out of Nightmare, which is neat, like this. It's got a real sense of art style that really fits for one particular genre, like basically like survival horror type stuff. And it hits that nail on the head, and it just goes to town on it. It's got like this, all kinds of vine-like appendages. Yeah, so if you like that kind of monster, you know, Jeremy Hart Illos does some good work. I'm going to go ahead and skip to... I'm going to head to the next one. I'm going to put the link up to that in the chat real quick. That is Creature Feature 2020 Pay What You Want sample, and there's likely to be more of those little booklets coming out in the future. What's next on my list? Next is going to be 2 classes from from a third party doing things for the low fantasy gaming RPG. And if you've been watching my stuff, I reviewed low fantasy low fantasy role playing game a long time ago. I actually really enjoyed it. I gotta admit, I really enjoyed it, although I haven't got to play it nearly as much. But I've noticed now you've got this JD RPG Productions every so often churning out like a third-party class for low fantasy gaming, and it looks like it uses a very similar style of presentation to the actual core game, so it fits in there. I do not know how balanced these are, because quite frankly I haven't looked at them before. It looks like it's in a similar format. This one is just the Aristocrat. The other one is in another PDF. Okay, uses the same low fantasy gaming hit points. If you haven't watched my review of that, instead of doing like a 1d6, they'll do like a 1d3 plus 3. So they kind of half the hit die and then give you 3, or give you half of it up front, because there's just not as much healing in low fantasy gaming. Got the armor class, light in this case. Looks like you can use a... Looks like the Aristocrat can use a number of... like a fairly wide array of weapons, but they're limited as well. So some of the... This is all nobility style weapons. And I guess if it's not something that the nobles would use, the Aristocrats won't use it. You get... they've got the kind of... I want to say like 4th edition, 5th edition style skill selections. Level cap is level 12, of course. Noble influence. To begin with, you have advantage on tests related to the persuasion skill. That's not bad. You have access to unique abilities in the form of influences. So influences are like abilities that you can use during each short or long rest. Blue-blooded, you may invoke this ability following an enemy's attack in order to gain advantage against this enemy on your next combat action. So these are basically like... he's like so noble that he gets offended and can attack even more powerfully, or even more accurately. Clout lets you reattempt a failed roll on a test that is relevant to your status as a member of high society. If you're wondering why I don't have glasses on during these, is because my glasses are so scratched up I can't even see the screen anymore at this point, barely. So I need to get a new pair of glasses. I've been putting it off because of the whole COVID thing, and while they're open here, it's just a pain to get out. That's another thing I've got on the back burner I'm gonna do. Yeah, so this is basically stuff that an Aristocrat can go ahead and trigger. Neat. And it looks like there's some variation here. Like, privilege is... like, you got self buffs like privilege and clout. Then you've got debuffs like presence. No, that's a personal buff too. This is all personal buffs. Okay, some of it requires use of a hireling. This is all personal buffs. It's almost like a weird version of a bard that just can buff themselves. Deep pockets gives you like free gold. All right, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. New skills or unique features. Yeah, 16 and 14. Low Fantasy Gaming has this thing where you get these. They're not really feats. They're just unique features, and you're supposed to like make them up with your DM's approval. So, but there are usually a selection of feats and features that can be chosen that are just there, that are just kind of more generalized stuff. All right. So that was the Aristocrat. The other one from that same one is the Flagellant class. So if you want to walk around whipping yourself for some reason, you've got the Flagellant. I wonder if they're as good at tanks as the ones in Darkest Dungeon. Oh man. So their key attribute, willpower. They've got really crap hit points. Actually, I guess that's better than the Aristocrat. That's 1d8. So I guess it's not that bad. Their selection of weapons, though. Ugh. That Morningstar stands out, though. As a Flagellant, your unrelenting devotion to the divine makes you proficient in all manners related to religion. You have advantage on any rolls that concern divine lore. Further, your self-infliction of pain puts fear of judgment into your foes. As an action during combat, you may strike yourself instead of your foes. You take the damage inflicted by your roll with no attack roll necessary, and in turn, one humanoid foe of your choosing is consumed by fear for a number of rounds equal to your will modifier. Basically, I guess freaked out because you're standing there in front of an enemy whipping yourself. God. Penchant for pain. You make you resistance from harm. When you would take damage from any source, reduce the damage that you would receive by either a grade of die or a number of die equal to your will modifier. That's a first level, so you can actually, I presume you can do that for stuff you inflict to yourself. So it kind of benefits that first thing, but you only get half healing, and healing is already really rare in low fantasy gaming. That's pretty serious. or less serious, because it is less common. It's like this. There's two ways to look at it, like having the effectiveness that's already something that's already uncommon. Number one, it makes it even rarer, but on the other hand, if it's that rare in the first place, you're probably not relying on it anyway. So there's that. Beckoning. When an attack, ability, or spell would affect any ally within 30 feet, you may make a will luck check. If successful, the enemy redirects their action towards you. So yeah, it's basically a tank class. Neat. Thematic for some low fantasy gaming things. I could see somebody using that. And again, that is J.D. Diaz. Yeah, but low fantasy gaming is just an awesome system. It's not super realistic. It's one of those it's one of those rulings versus rules systems, but it's just neat in the way it presents things. I'll put the links in the chat. Okay, this is for both of those. Watch me flood myself off my own chat. It's gonna work. Hold on a sec. My bad. There's one of them. And there's the other link. see if I can do this. All right, the next one's Osr Rosetta Stone. What this is, it's basically a conversion document to switch between the various OSR systems. Or not necessarily all of them, but rather the most common systems. Because with the OSR in general, you've got a ton of different systems, but the majority of them are only based on like 2 or 3 engines, so to speak. Excuse me while I get some water. Need to tie my hair back too. Give me a minute, because this is just annoying. Yeah, sorry about that. It was tied back. It just wasn't tied back tight enough. I don't know if my fan is like overwhelming my voice. Let me know if it is. I know I'm getting some viewers. Chances are good nobody's going to see this until like next week or whatever. These actually get a decent amount of views. Well, for my channel. I know it's not nowhere near like where a big channel would get. These actually get a decent number of views. I hope people like them. I've got to presume they like them because people watch them. But yeah, this is basically a conversion guide between a generic D20 system, 5th edition D20 system, Castles and Crusades, Adventure Conqueror King system throws. If you've watched my recent review on that, remember how I mentioned that they had a different throw system. This document might be useful for converting things, though. Then there's a D100 system. There's a lot of D100 systems out there. I need to actually take a look at that. What is NWP? What's an NWP system? Here we go, over there. This is the modifier applied to Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition non-weapon proficiency system. Okay, so if you're using the non-weapon proficiency system, that'll let you switch. That'll let you convert like a non-weapon proficiency from that one to one of the other systems. That could be neat. BSC is a basic success chance, I guess. Yeah, there you go. D6 systems. I haven't looked at a lot of D6 systems. I need to look at that. Lamentations of the Flame Princess is one. I need to look at Lamentations because I've heard mixed things about that. I've heard it's super artsy, and that's usually not my deal. But on the other hand, like weird horror in a like 16th century setting, I think is kind of my deal. I don't know if there's any suggestions on that. I know there's only like a couple of people watching, but if there's any suggestions on that later on, go ahead and let me know. I'm hoping this is actually live. It should be live. I've seen people pop back in and out. Excuse me, I'm actually looking at my YouTube channel. I need to rearrange the front page of my YouTube channel. It is showing things that that are really old, and it's not showing some of my more recent things. Basically got to spend like a day and a half reorganizing it. But yeah, this is basically how to convert things between systems. So it gives you notes for monster conversions, for chance conversions, so easy enough to use to do that. And that is the OSR Rosetta Stone. It's a pay-what-you-want offering. So if it comes in useful in converting your games, you know, who knows? I guess you can toss them a couple bucks, or I wouldn't toss more than about a buck. You know, I'm cheap. You know, you're lucky if you get like 10 cents from me. That's why it takes me so long to decide when to buy things. So I'm like really tight with my money a lot of times. A hollowed tomb. A hollowed tomb. Where is that? What is that? I neglected to note what is a what. A hallowed tomb from Dan's Dungeons. A small starting dungeon for any number of level 1 players. You can even run it solo if truly bored. Let's see if it's any good. It's only like 1 page. That's a decent map. Who did the map? Is that a Dyson Logos map? I'm not seeing any credits on it. Yeah, there's no credits on this. No, it can't, it's a homebrew map. It's done in something. This is all very CAD-like. This has to have been done in a program. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but it's very, very CAD-like. So I got to presume it was done in something. There's no credits on it though. Again. Dug into the edge of a sheer mountain facade lies the long-forgotten tomb of the clerics of Stonington, devout healers of the god of time. They wandered the land, healing the sick and elderly in times long past. Stop selecting things. Recently raided by a small gang of kobolds led by the orc Thragra, they have set up within its halls in an attempt to summon the ancient red dragon Corvain the Tyrant. To complete this evil and dark deed, they require the sacrifice of human blood and have in turn raided the local town, kidnapping a helpless villager. Okay. So, the kobolds are here on guard. Does it tell how many kobolds are? Number 1. The kobolds, ex-kobolds are here on guard, hiding in the shade of the caved-in temple doors. So you get to decide how many creatures are there. X refers to the numbers of players. Okay, there you go. So if it's X kobolds, it's X number of players. Okay. Here lies a dried-up fountain with a small statue of a cleric. This is one of those 5-room dungeons. Isn't it? Oh, I'm sorry. It's a 5-room dungeon. No, it's a 4-room dungeon. It's just got a couple different things. All right. I don't know about the whole 5-room dungeon theory. I mean, on the one hand, I guess it's technically correct, but I need to get onto my Designing Adventures for OSR Systems series, because it's like, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. It's not so much a rant. There's so much theory crafting in like the best way, the quote-unquote best way to design a dungeon and such, but you can't really derive everything into a single formula that's going to fit everybody. And that's what things like that do. Now you can use like percentages, like even the original D&D system, when you were stocking a dungeon, X number of rooms were supposed to be filled with monsters, Y number with monsters and treasures, Z numbers were supposed to be empty, that sort of thing. And you can kind of use those percentages, but just to assume that you can only run... A lot of that derives from the idea that you can only run so many encounters per session. But it really depends on the complexity of the encounter. So I kind of don't ascribe to a lot of the critical dungeon design theories that are out there now. And I mean, I've got my own, but I treat it more like almost like an art form, really. I mean, yeah, I guess there's some sort of mathematics behind it, You know, you can only go so many encounters before resting, no matter what system you're in. But that also presumes all the encounters are hostile. Yeah, I'll have to get into that in its own thing. I'll have to do like a design theory video. I'm terrible at explaining design theory, though. All I know is that people happen to like my stuff when I run it for them. Of course, I haven't published anything either, so we'll see. What's next? Oh, I need to get the link for that, don't I? Sorry about that. I got like really yeah, that's a hollowed tomb. It's pay what you want. It looks like a neat little one shot. It looks like they left way too much for the DM to fill in, though. But I can see where they're coming from. That's just one of those plug and play kind of instant dungeon things for first level characters. All right, next is Under Siege, one-page adventure. I've got a couple of them. I think these are all from the same company. So I may blow through them real quick. I'll know right off the bat. Under Siege from Target Roll. Yeah, Target Roll has a bunch of these one-page dungeons. I don't know how good they are. So let's take a look. Under Siege, it looks like to be like an actual historical thing. It's 2 pages. It's got no map. It doesn't have a map. In the 9th century, the feudal lord Rowan from the north of France received word of an incoming invasion of the Normans coming from the north. He locked himself in the highest tower, not trusting a single soul, knowing that even his servants might try to execute him to avoid conflict with the Normans. Under Siege is a one-shot siege adventure written entirely in 1 page, where the players can take the roles of invading Normans, try to fire away inside Rowan's tower to finish him once and for all. You're going to need a player to tell the story, a game master, and 2 to 4 players take the roles of Norman warriors. Okay, so there's no map. There's just a series of encounters, just 4 encounters. In the afternoon before the siege, the Normans camp. One of the Lord's servants will give himself up, offering an easier way into the castle. An successful intimidate check will make him scared enough to keep his promise, otherwise he'll only be fooling the PCs into a trap. In the case of a trap, an insight check might give the characters a hint that the servant is in fact... What system is this for? I guess it's for 5th edition. Because this is... Well, no. This kind of looks like 5th edition. I have to presume it's for 5th edition. It's a Creative Commons license. Yeah, I guess this is 5th edition. Except maybe not. What system is this for? Give me a second. What system is this listed for? Let me look up the link. I mean, it is clearly just something you run on the fly with no maps. So I don't even know why it matters this much. It is any system agnostic. So I guess you're presumed to be able to come up with something like equivalent in your system. It's fairly straightforward. It's just a castle infiltration. Although that is not an 8th century castle. That is by no means an 8th century castle. Alright. I'm gonna go to the next one. And I'm probably gonna blow through these real quick. Next one is Gods Under the Bloody Moon, which is, I believe, also from it's also from Target Roll. The stars are directly responsible for interfering with the lives of beings, monsters, and mortals, and only in their perfect alignment the chaos once spread throughout the world cannot be undone. Gods Under the Bloody Moon is a one-shot adventure written entirely in 1 page. It can be played by any generic RPG system, etc., etc. Main characters in the story are travelers bound together on the purpose of bringing back the goddess who has been imprisoned in the underworld and reestablishing peace in the world. So, this one looks like it really needs more than 1 page. I hate to say it. It's just an outline. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm just I'm blowing through these pretty quick. Just checking out Pay What You Want and free tabletop role-playing games, role-playing game accessories that are available on DrivethruRPG. Excuse me. So this is kind of a... I guess it's just a description of a ritual. It's like, this isn't even a fully fledged adventure. I guess it would work for an adventure hook. That's a problem with making a single-page adventure and then abstracting it that much. And the next one is The Curse of the Depths, which is, I believe, the same company. And if it is, I'm just going to link them all. The Curse of the Depths, one-page adventure. Yeah. The main characters in this story are traveling warriors crossing the seas to reach a distant kingdom, where they've been summoned. The warriors are all human, but blessed with magical abilities. And this one covers an entire submerged city. So these aren't really... Oh, man, the ones from, like... and I hate to bring this up again, but the Low Fantasy Gaming and... What is it, Pickpocket Press that does those? They've got these adventure hooks. Well, let me take a look at this. And I'm gonna put the links for these in, but adventure hooks. Low Fantasy Gaming has a bunch of like miniature adventures that can be used in any system, and they're more fleshed out than these. Yeah, adventure frameworks. Those things are more fleshed out than these. Although I will admit those things you pay for, so trade-off. Trade-off, I guess it's like I'd say you can't really argue about something that's pay what you want / free. But this is like barely more than just an outline. The first one had actual rooms and such in it. Anyway, I'll post the links. I'll post the links in chat like I always do. Just give me a second. I'll post. There's 3 of them. Under Siege was the first one. Then Gods Under the Bloody Moon was the second one. These are all pay what you want. If you decide to use them, it's on you. Last is The Curse of the Depths. They're okay, I guess, if you're completely out of ideas. They all look like mythical, though. Now, I mean, that first one was supposed to be historical, but these two look more like mythical types of things. Like what you'd expect out of like a proper story. So what's next? Hopefully something I can properly analyze. Siege of Berkisle. Let me take a look at that. Oh, there's another part, multi-part one. Oh, there's a lot of stat blocks on this one. Okay, it's got a color map. Exiled Kingdoms. That's the. Is that a? That is a computer role-playing game, I think. Hold on a second. I think I might have. Give me a second. I might even have it in my Steam library. Is that the one you're talking about? Exiled Kingdoms. Yeah, I've played Exiled Kingdoms. I reviewed that a while back. I reviewed that years ago. I liked it. I really liked it. If you're talking about the computer role-playing game one. There's a delay, so feel free to answer me, and don't worry about not understand. As long as you can sort of understand what I'm saying, that's cool. I've got a review of Exiled Kingdoms on my channel, I think, unless you mean like a tabletop gaming. Now, tabletop gaming, I don't think I have. Let me take a look at that. Exiled Kingdoms. I don't see an Exiled Kingdoms on here, so I'm presuming you mean the computer game. Yeah, just let me know. I'm going to continue onward. But yeah, I love the computer. I actually like the computer game. What am I looking at here? Oh yeah, Siege of Carlisle. Siege of Carlisle. Yeah, hold on a second. Where did my OBS go? Okay, there we go. Siege of Carlisle. There's a stylized document. Or Siege of Berkisle. Why was I calling it Carlisle? Siege of Berkisle. Oh, God. Alright, this is from RPG Writer's Workshop. It is... I believe it's for 5th edition, if I'm remembering right. And this one's got, like, multiple pages. So this one's like a full adventure. It does have, like, handouts. Let me link one. It's got a proper, hold on a second. Seriously? Is this not going to display this? I'm asking this machine to display this photo. Okay, I guess OBS doesn't want to display this photo. Sorry. So I don't know what to say about that. It worked 5 seconds ago, or not 5 seconds, but it worked earlier. You saw me linking images earlier. Apparently, it doesn't like that anymore. See if I can get the Orc Camp stuff. Is that gonna link? Oh my god. Give me a sec. I'm trying to link this. I guess, yeah. I guess I can't link. I guess I can't link images anymore. So let's just take a look at the Siege of Berkisle. Okay, so we've got an adventure outline. The Siege of Berkisle is an adventure designed for 4 characters of first level, so it's a first level adventure. Good. Set in the fictional world of Agora. I don't know if there's like more of these. I think this may be like the intro for what is to be a proper setting, maybe. Let me take a look at the DrivethruRPG thing real quick. Siege of Berkisle. I know I've got this on here. From the DrivethruRPG site. Welcome to the world of Agora in the city of Berkisle. It's a 5th edition campaign setting. And I don't think... I think this is the only thing this guy has out. Yeah. This is the only thing this guy has out. The city of Berkisle has been watched over by the Lord Barar Langdon for nearly a decade, but he grows old. With no heir apparent and war seemingly on the horizon, the people worry about what the future holds. And hold on, an error occurred. Oh, never mind. It's just my connection. It is just my connection. I hope my connection's not bombing. I'm gonna reload a little bit here. Sorry, this entire stream's kind of like falling apart here now. Anyway, after a night carousing in the ladies' favor, Berkisle's most prestigious and only tavern, which makes it easy to be the most prestigious, the adventurers wake up with splitting headache and the iron bar is in front of them. They are recruited by Barar Langdon to travel to the nearby farming village of Heatherstwine in order to warn the villagers of the oncoming Orcish army and usher them to safety within city walls. At the village of Heatherstwine, the adventurers will find the village empty and in ruin, having already been attacked, and will have to track down its attackers and hopefully rescue any survivors. They find the survivors being held captive by a band of orcs at a camp in a clearing in the woods nearby. When the adventurers opt to wait to sneak into the camp under the cover of darkness, distract or draw away the orcs, or will they try for an all-out attack? Knowing my group, they'll just charge up there and like knock on the door. That's not completely fair. One of my groups actually has their stuff together. You have little or no memory of a night of debauchery or how they ended up waking up in a cell. That's not good. But that's a trope that's been a while for a while. Oh no, I need to get this back up. There we go. I said I was going to need to get my chat monitor back up, mostly so I can continue to post links. This is actually not a bad idea for an adventure. This is actually not something I've used before. Mostly because there's only like I've only ever actually had one group of characters like in any of my games that would get flat out drunk. All of the rest are like too paranoid to let their characters get drunk. So yeah, this is actually not a setup that I've been able to use in all of my years of DMing. Wow, okay. I mean, it gets points on that. So, the DM's adventure background. You got Borderlands. You got a Lich that moved into the area. Band of heroes destroyed it. Oh, there's a lot of history here. There's a lot more history than you need here. All right. Oh, okay. So maps are made using Incarnate. I haven't used that one. I've heard really good things about it. I should probably check it out sometime. I don't really like... I'm not a big fan of Fractal Coasts, but I guess it works. I feel like I need to rotate this clockwise a couple times. There we go. Now we can see the map. Yeah, this is just the map that was shown previously in the included material. So they've got this map as a standalone map, and they've actually got 2 versions that come with this, one in black and white, one in color. All right, and we'll go back to the proper view. Oh, content warning. Content warnings I'm mixed on. I mean, this one I can get because it's got like implied slavery and kidnapping. Elements of xenophobia, though. Man, these... I don't know, man. People who play role-playing games nowadays, it's like... what? All I can say is that you play in my game. The content warning is that you're going to get your ass kicked. And it may be by a cheery, smiling goblin. Or it may be by something truly horrific. Or it may be by yourself. So... TTRPG safety. This is from the same people that... safety cool toolkit. I don't know, man. This whole idea of safety about words, it's inimical to any sort of conversation. So anytime I see any, it's like I'm almost willing to just dismiss this entire thing based on the opening. This tells me exactly what I need to know about the authors. Right here. So... formatting's good. The concept's decent. As your mind slowly starts to convalesce into a semblance of coherent thought, you notice the dry feeling in your mouth as if you had a mouthful of sawdust. Next, your addled brain registers the bed you're lying on seems awful hard and cold. So yeah, you got your characters in cells already. You can tell what they see from the cells. Not even going to go into depth on that. Castle Berkisle. So this is... like, all of this setup here is stuff that you would ordinarily do. Like, in an old school game, you just have... unless the adventures were supposed to break out right then and there, you just have, like, a quick intro passage that just says you're in prison and the Lord summons you and then you talk. But I guess they give them stats in case if they decide to go ahead and, like... end the adventure before it begins. Okay. And here's the thing about this. Look at this. Hold on. If one or more members of the party escape the prison cells or the guard is knocked out or killed, use the stat block for the guard. Before he can explain he has been sent to fetch them, have the party attempt to navigate their way through the Warrenlight Castle, eventually stumbling into the council chamber containing Lord Bearer Langdon. He will be unaware of what has happened and will treat the adventurers the same as if the guard had delivered them, if slightly perplexed. So you've got this entire setup here to allow them to escape, and then you railroad them in anyway. That's what's known as false choice. That is the same exact thing as if you've ever played Dragon Quest 1 or Dragon Warrior 1, where you ask if the princess asks if you love her, and if you answer no, she just says, "But thou must," and asks you again. This is a "but thou must" moment. It gives you your characters a false choice. If you're going to railroad them, just railroad them. It's a simple paragraph of text. That's all you need. To Heather's Twine. I can appreciate the effort, but Jesus Christ. If you're going to give them an option to escape, let them escape. And just say, oh, well, the adventure is over. We'll play something else. I especially don't like it because this whole thing is, like, it goes on. Never mind. I don't want to rant again. I've already ranted enough on this. Let's take a look. Okay, so you've got a country road leading to a village. As you enter the guardhouse, a member of the guard will stop them. Adventurers... Wait a minute. The north gate of what? Alright, so you go through the city and you get encounters in the city. But the city is not your destination. So again, more time taken for something that could be settled with like a paragraph of text. If the party are told about the farce by the guard, they make it off the beaten path down a narrow trail. So you've got to actually give them a test to even leave. Don't even do that. Just let them go. This adventure seems to spend a lot of time trying to derail itself. You know, I had high hopes for this because it does seem like a decent premise, but it's just like everything I'm reading about this is just terrible. The writing is technically good. I can't fault that. Like, the actual technical writing is decent. So there's an owlbear on a country road. Pretty standard stuff. Get into the forest. You get a riderless horse. As your vision adjusts to the relative darkness of the forest clearing, you notice the gray-green hide-covered figure of an orc crouched over the body of an elf. There is a tang of iron hanging in the air and sounds of rustling and grunting as the orc rifles through the satchel clutched in his hand. I hope to God they have a background for this orc, judging from the tenor of this module already. This orc better have a damn name and a family. Unless the group has made efforts to move stealthily, the orc will look up. They do have a reaction table, I will say that. That's nice. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Oh, wait. Here it is. Here it is. If they capture the orc alive, and a character wishes to interrogate or question them, a DC 13 Persuasion or DC 14 Intimidation check will have it tell them that it was scouting ahead of a larger band of warriors that were readying to attack a nearby village if it spotted the elf spying on the village and ambushed them. So there is a reason behind it being there, and that reason is that it's an evil orc. Okay. Alright. You're starting to earn my respect back, module. Okay, you got a village hall. Heather's Twine has already been ruined when you get to it. Gives your pursuit rules for the earlier trail. So if you can find the tracks of the things that destroyed the village, you can go out after it. Not a problem. Not a problem. If the party, having captured the orc scout and brought it along with them, decide to question about the village, it will insist that it had nothing to do with the attack other than it was scouting ahead for a band of warriors that were going to attack the village. If pushed on the matter in the village hall and the remains inside, you will also say that this was needlessly barbaric even for orcs, because as we know, orcs don't... what did we do here? All that is left is the four corner supports and most of the front wall. The party will not be able to miss the fact the front doors of the hall have been boarded shut from the outside with nails. So it was burned down. Looks like it was burned down with the bodies in it, I guess. Wait a minute. Was it? Excuse me, yeah. So there's like kids in there as well. It doesn't tell you what state the remains are in. So you find the remains of adults and kids, and there's that tearjerker, a doll that has been shoved into a crack of what is left of the floorboards. It sounds like they wanted to like write this horrific scene, but then kind of like glazed over it because it might be upsetting. Alright, there's a tree line. Because they made that hard to find. It's like you have to go actively searching for that horror. Orc camp's decent. I mean, a map's a map. I can't fault this map. My players know my maps. My maps are worse than this. I can't fault this. So there's your basic orc fight. You can rescue some prisoners. Dealing with the orcs. So there's Grogmar is larger than the average orc. Experienced fighter has a deep hatred for any species other than orc. And it gives him his backstory, which gives him a reason to hate every non-orc, which is okay. That's solid. I can't spend too much time on this, though. So they give you a death scene for this orc if you get him down to 0. Grogmar. So you find you track the attackers of the village. You come upon this orc encampment, and they give this orc a like dramatic death scene. Grogmar coughs blood into the ground where he stands. As he begins to sway, a malicious glint shines in his unfocused eyes. He reaches to his belt, lifting a curved horn to his lips, and before anyone can react, because of course, he sounds 3 loud bellows as the last note. So here's the thing: if I'm describing this, the problem is as before anyone can react, my players would probably already be reacting before I even finish that sentence. As the last note leaves the horn, he smiles wickedly and collapses to the ground. As he lays there unmoving, the party hear a distant horn sound in reply 3 times to the north. And you've got, I guess, another orc horizon. So you capture an orc. You question them about what happened there. He says this is unusually barbaric even for orcs. But then you actually find the orcs did it. Got another chase scene. That's okay. And then you get back to Berkisle, and you basically have to outrun the orcs to Berkisle, but it does give you options to stand and fight, so I can respect that. In terms of concepting, it's not a bad adventure. Yeah, in terms of concepting, it's not a bad adventure. It comes with random orc stats here. They're all pretty straightforward. That's a decent first level adventure. I mean, I've got my issues with it, mostly in the matter of like the false choices it offers, but there's that. And if you wanted to partake of that, the link is in the chat now, or it will be. Let's move onward. I'm halfway done, just about. The Well of Dreams. Pay what you want. Okay. It's got 3 pages. It is from the Raging Barbarian and Batfuela. So if you've seen my priors of these, I've often come up with the Raging Barbarian stuff. I have stated that I am fond of the isometric maps on that, but that they're difficult to use. So I guess this one, it makes it easier to read. I can only this is like an entire town. I can see why there's no isometric map on that. That would be nice, but it would be terrible. Like, terrible to use. A series of events create chaos and confusion in the quiet city of Ronf, where inhabitants seem to be suddenly very sleepy, finding themselves without any richness from night to morning. The nocturne will strike again. Solve the mystery of robberies and heavy sleepiness. Stop the nocturne. So you've got a random number of days, which could be really interesting if you rolled minimum on those dice and gave your PCs 4 days to figure it out. To discover what's happening in Ronf, at the end of those days they failed, the nocturne escapes with loot. Use the robberies table to determine which richness have been robbed. I'm going to go out on a limb and presume that English is not the... either English is not the first language of whoever wrote this, or they're just terrible at copy editing. Use robberies table to determine which richness have to be robbed before Nocturne reveals itself. Roll Nocturne on NPC's table. Plus 1d4 assistance. Why PCs are here. PC's familiar has been robbed in the night. Yeah, this is like some Google Translate level stuff. Not to denigrate people that don't have English as a first language, but if you're gonna write something in English for English distribution, it's like, yeah, I actually would like to see. I say this with a momentary pause. I would like to see more stuff distributed in languages other than English, but I can completely understand why English would be your first choice, even if you don't speak it natively, because of the larger market size. But I happen to know that some of the other Raging Barbarian stuff is written... Well, there's not a lot of writing in it, but what is there is written very well. So I don't know what happened with this one. Someone paid PCs to discover the secret of robberies. Romp's people ask for help. A valuable treasure which previously involved a PC in some way disappeared. The PC hopes to make easy money here. The PC is interested in Sleep's Arcanum. I guess the PC is interested in the magical that's causing everybody to sleep, I guess. Who knows? On the crime scene, you got some tracks. Okay, so there's a lot of random generation in this. This is very, very randomized. This is like an RNG-based adventure. Like, even the clues you got a random number of days to catch the person doing it. You've got randomized clues. You do have events at days 2, 5, 8, and 11, but you can easily generate 4 days. So you could just get like the first one and then go away. Oh, and I know this has got to be an autocorrect error. 2d8 sleepwalkers tried to steal at random PNG's house. Yeah, I don't know about this. It's neat, but I got to put the link here and cut it, man, because otherwise I'm just gonna end up like complaining about this. That's Well of Dreams. It's a pay what you want offering. It's a 3-page dungeon. That's some next level. That's some next level Google Translate writing there. I prefer the Raging Barbarian's other stuff. That was written in conjunction with somebody. I prefer the other stuff, just mostly because the maps look neat. What's next? The symbol of Silvalt. The symbol of Silvalt. A 0 to hero adventure for a single level 0 player. Are you sure you don't mean character? Although I know a number of 0 level players out there. In fact, I play regularly with a couple of them. What system is this for? Oh, you got content warnings again. Theft, fire, bribery, death, murder, poison, and violence. What's with these content warnings all of a sudden? I mean, it's bad enough that this change to ancestry and heritage is making everybody sound like white supremacists now. Did I mention that's why I don't like them? It's because it sounds like it's written by Stormfront when they use that instead of race. In an effort to not be racist, they make themselves sound like racists. A 0 to hero adventure in an interactive character building experience created to be run as a one-shot module for a single player with a level 0 character who, through roleplay, will make choices to create their level 1 character. I like that. That's, what was the adventure? Oh my god. It was like some Treasure Island or something. Treasure Hunt from AD&D 1st Edition. Where you basically washed up ashore as like level 0 characters, and throughout the adventure you found things and then eventually got your character class that way. I like that. I like that idea. In every adventure, the level 0 character engages in social exploration and combat encounters in order to increase the character's ability scores, replacing the dice rolling, standard array, or point-by-generation system as a role-playing driven experience. This also allows the player to grow and build their alignment, personality, future skills, and abilities naturally. At the end, the player can finalize their level 1 character based on the adventure. So yeah, this is basically, in lieu of character creation, you make like a basic skeleton of a character. Thank God they used race in this. Otherwise, I would have just had to shut it down. RPG Writer Workshop. I gotta wonder if that's not like... if these content warnings aren't like required for that or something. I don't know. But I like the idea of this. You basically have all your ability scores set to 10, and then you build the character over the adventure. That is a neat idea. But is it a good adventure? That's the real question. The town of Silvalt has recently hit hard times. Several mishaps have happened to businesses in town, most notably the Ash Run Sawmill, causing the people of the lumber town to become paranoid and closed off. Mayor Bertram Folk has instituted a new town curfew to make it easier for the guards to patrol and watch for mischief. While no one seems to agree upon what has been happening, misfortunate accidents, a curse, most believe the opening ritual of the upcoming Strongbark Fete. I know that's a word, it means party, but I've never actually heard anybody say it. The Strongbark Fete, whatever, will persuade the gods to intervene and bless the town once more. The only problem? The most recent incident has been the theft of Silvalt Chapel's holy symbol, the Radix Divine. Reward flyers for the recovery of this amethyst statuette can be seen all over town. As time ticks down, the townsfolk has pitched in more funds for whomever can recover it, no questions asked. Now, a mere 4 days before the opening ritual, the reward sits at 50 gold, a year's wages for most people. Can you solve the mystery and save Silvalt? Is this where your journey begins? So you basically got to find a stolen artifact, and a copy editor needs to put a period right after all over town and before as time ticks down, because that is a run-on sentence. DM background. So you get a lumber town. I'm just going to skim over this. It's like 18 pages. Let's skim through it. So you gather at the chapel. You've got your mission. You've got the character builder, which is where? At the end. So you got your basic character outline here. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to quickly read things. Box text. You got 2 encounters before the forum and then 3 afterwards. Before the for town's curfew. So you basically got your choice of encounters to run through. And it looks like each of these let you utilize certain skills, some of which are not going to be useful at all, like something with a stealth DC of 20. As a 0th level character, you're going to have a hard time meeting that. But what happens? What are the rules for adapting the character? Ability increases reward by encounters or adds to the ability score. In combat, your player character will most likely be unarmed. So it introduces an entire new combat system in order to level characters up. I like the idea behind it. And it gives you rewards for role-playing for certain classes. So you can start foreshadowing an entry into like a paladin's thing in the combat. I like that. I like that idea. And it gives you bonuses to ability scores if you succeed on certain things, which does lean more towards like a randomized sort of thing. I like that. It's like randomization with extra steps. The adventure looks pretty solid. It's really straightforward. You gather the pieces, you report the theft, and then there's a couple more encounters. And different encounters seem to give you different different rewards. So that's not a bad deal. I actually like this. I like this idea more than I like the execution, but the execution isn't half bad. And then you kind of level up into the finalize the level up into your proper class at the end. That's not too bad. It's not too bad. That is the symbol of Silvalt, a pay what you want product, which I will put the link in the chat. What is next? Next is the Clay Shelf. Now, the Clay Shelf was recently updated, and I haven't taken a look at it since it was updated. So, in fact, I haven't taken a look at most of these except to make sure they didn't have any questionable art in them, because that has bit me before. I was looking through one of these before, and because I looked through a lot of OSR stuff, YouTube like smacked the yellow dollar on it. It got reversed eventually, but it was amusing when it happened. Because as we all know, old school art can sometimes have illustrated succubuses and things in it, and that's unfortunate if you're trying to keep things on YouTube YouTube friendly. The Clay Shelf is a setting for Electric Bastion Land. Now, Electric Bastion Land is kind of a... It's hard to describe. I haven't played it yet, but I have read some of it. It's basically like... How to describe it? It's sort of OSR, but the setting is kind of like a weird, like, surreal city. And the city has like things under, like passages underneath it, in between areas. All right, so the Clay Shelf. Wow, the write-up on this is like non-existent. A desert enclosed by a large caldera, the Shelf, few of the native Ilder peoples remain. A year after the Great Flood, towns and cities of the region are now abandoned. Citizens live in a quasi-lawful oligarchy. Industrialists and criminals alike make the rules. The Pressa Dam collapse was no accident, and Boff Industries were somehow involved. A valuable artifact is... these are all rumors, so they may or may not be true. So you've got like this industrial wasteland kind of thing. Each night the PCs spend in the wilderness, roll a D6, and those are some pretty harsh penalties for traveling through the Shelf. A lot of them seem to be dealing with the fact that it's like, is it supposed to be marshy? I know it's a desert. It's a desert, so I don't know why it's got so much spoilage. Whenever the PCs stop to rest, leave a settlement, roll as D6, and it gives you randomized encounters there. Yeah, this kind of a weird kind of almost, I guess, post-apocalyptic might describe it, but not like classical apocalypse. More like some sort of magical issue happened. A colossal statue of a woman. So that's a fallen statue that you can find on the highway. A drum pond. Ew. So it's got the remnants of a blood-smeared blanket is laying between a clutch of wilted flowers. Inside the basket is a moldy food. A partly submerged body of a flat bandit is floating in the pond. Okay, so it's like the remnants of a picnic that went horrifically wrong. All right. So we've got this is a weird setting. I think this gives you more of a sense of the setting. It's like almost modern, but not really. And I'm not going to do much more on this one. I'm just going to scan through it real quick, because a lot of this is not making a lot of sense, because I have not looked at the Electric Bastion Land material. It looks like it's like kind of OSR from what I'm seeing. This is all kind of like post-apocalyptic stuff. Good. Yeah, this is weird. I mean, I kind of dig the aesthetic, but I'm not a... It's like I dig the aesthetic in that it's not turning me completely terrible, even though I don't usually like post-apocalyptic stuff. It's like, why would I like post-apocalyptic stuff when you're dealing with, like, an actual one? You know? I don't know. If you're interested, I'll post it. I'm not going to go much longer on this one. The artwork's kind of neat, though. Really super stylized. This does have, I believe this... Does this have no, it's just got the one thing. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and post... I'll post the link to this up. This is a little bit... I think this requires a more in-depth understanding of the setting than I have. But it is free. So there is that. I wonder if there's like a free version of the Electric Bastion Land. Let me take a look. Before I leave too much, let me take a look at DrivethruRPG real quick. There is a free edition. There is a free edition. It is... Okay. It's the electric hub of mankind, the only city that matters, too big to fail, to fall, too complicated to function. A mess of alleyways, legalese and crowds, aliens, mockeries, and people always in your way and your business. So it is a role-playing game. It looks like it expands into the odd. It's not a source book or an expansion, so I guess it's not an expansion. It just uses the same rules. It's a standalone journey into an unknowable world. I'll put the link for that in there too, the free edition of that. So give me a second. That is into the... I'm not going to look at it because it looks too surreal for me right now, and I'm already having trouble focusing tonight. So here's the Electric Bastion Land stuff, free edition, if you want to check that out. All right. What's next? What's next? And thank you all for bearing with me on this. I know I got mixed results on these, but I like doing it. Next week I'm going to be returning to doing like computer role playing game stuff on my stream. I may be doing World of Horror next week. I don't know if anybody wants to see that, but I did that on my secondary channel. I enjoyed it, but it was a while back. Anyway, King Zadwer Balanescu. That's the next one. If I remember right, this one actually has some decent artwork on it. Yes, it does. Give me a second. I'm sorry. I got pinged, and I need to make sure that it wasn't important. Oh no. Okay. No, it wasn't important. It was just somebody I know had, shall we say, a rough day. So King Zadwer Balanescu. Let's take a look at this. I like the artwork right off the bat. From Mad Mage Games. Alright. The reproduction of any material inside this work without authorization from the author is forbidden. Oops, I guess I'm in trouble here. What's it got here? You got... It looks like it's aboard an airship. King Zadwer Balanescu is an adventure compatible with the 5th edition of the most famous tabletop RPG intended for a party of 4 to 6 level 3 characters. I like how they framed that. The most famous one. Doesn't say the most popular one. This initial quest should take about 3 hours to complete. We'll try and present solutions for situations the adventurers likely encounter. So it's a 5th edition, level 3 adventure. Set. Most of the adventure takes place in the city-state of Moscopolis. It is a city carved into the mountainside of the northern part of the world, mostly surrounded by barbaric tribes. It was founded by gnome refugees after their kingdom was destroyed in attacks by beasts of the southern corruption. Gnomes are well regarded for their technology and mercantilism. Thus, Moscopolis is not only a major trading hub, but also one of the most technologically advanced nations in the world, having rapidly industrialized during the past century or so and employing heavy use of the steam engines. So neat. It's like a steam-powered city in a medieval fantasy world. Alright. There are many different reasons why somebody would be visiting, and it gives you reasons for visiting Muscopolis. But if you've got to get a reason to visit a metropolis in a fantasy setting, I don't know what to say. So it does take place aboard an airship. Each character should also have some luggage aboard the airship, at the very least a backpack. Okay. Before we dive into the happenings, we shall describe the NPCs aboard the ship. So you've got a list of passengers. A gnome, a sun elf. So mostly gnomes, but some elves and other types. There's a dwarf. There's a couple humans. Not many. But it is a gnomish city, so that's to be expected. So you've got... Sorry, I was looking at something else. We've got a list of the crew. And the Black Scarves. The Black Scarves are revolutionaries attacking the ship for their own political reason. A lot of them are nondescript disposable enemies, but a few of them deserve longer introduction. The key Black Scarves member on the ships are Ilya Vladimirovic, a charismatic and unscrupulous human bard who has since young age been rising in the ranks of the organization. Second in his command is Verbag Burilov, a huge and menacing orc who tends not to talk a lot. Waiting for them in their hideout is Swag Chlova. She is a goblin ranger with velociraptors. Also, the following members are pretending to be regular passengers. Okay. So I guess these are listed in the passengers. Are they, like, the same passengers? Hold on a second. Balmont Louis? Is there a Balmont Louis in the main? No. So if you're running this and you're saying these passengers are aboard, you've got to also add these passengers as well. You should put a note in the passengers. I got a train. Give me a second. Yeah, if you're wondering why I was wearing the headset while doing this, is because I was listening to some feedback. All right. The players begin their adventure on the airship King Zadwer Balanescu. It is a 300-foot long, but most of the length is only occupied by the balloon. The area that can be accessed by characters is only about 100 feet in length. From the outside is a typical dirigible, a long oval-shaped balloon with a car suspended below it. The airship is copper-colored, and on its side the Muscopolis insignia is painted, a red field with a golden crown and a black cog in the middle. So you've got a 4-layer airship, and it looks like everything happens on here. You find yourselves aboard the King Zadwer Balanescu, the largest airship of the Muscopolis Trade Street. I'm not going to read all this because it would take me all night to read through it. So it sets you in media res aboard the airship already. It is the afternoon. You're relaxing in your rooms. You have been traveling for several days, and finally the journey is almost over. After 3 days, so it gives you a time limit on the adventure, you will be reaching the Muscopolis harbor in the evening. As you rest your head, a proclamation can be heard over the speakers of the corridor. Dear passengers, this is your captain speaking. We will be reaching the Muscopolis trade harbor this evening. To celebrate this occasion, in 1 hour, a modest party will be held in the lounge on the upper floor. Drinks will be provided, games will be organized, and we have had performers kindly offer their entertainment for us. The crew of King Zadwer Balanescu is proud to be your hosts, and it will be our pleasure if all of you showed up. Until then, as usual, you are welcome to enjoy the various amenities aboard the ship, the bar, the exquisite restaurant, the reading room, or you could relax or play a board game in the lounge. Thank you. So they really want you in that lounge, don't they? From the 3-day journey, you are familiar with the ship's layout. On your current level, there are passenger cabins and bathrooms. Below you, there's a dining hall, a bar and a lounge, a reading room, and 2 promenades along the ship's sides. Below that, there's the crew quarters, and then the passengers are forbidden from visiting that part of the ship, so you don't know any details about the area. So you got free reign to explore the ship before the celebration starts. So a map of the ship can be found in the Appendix A at the end of the book, which I'm going to zip to real quick. So yeah, you've got a proper airship here. Nice. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4 levels. And that's the engine room, basically. Okay. That's not too bad. I like this one. I like this one. I mean, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure what happens, but I already like it. I like it because there wasn't a trigger warning. No, I like it because there's an airship and there's like an entire gnomish metropolis that you're expected to be going to. It's like steampunk without like all of the other things. Yeah, I got that train running in the background. Man, it's still going right now. It is still going. It is a long one. I live like 50 feet from some industrial train tracks. It's one of the reasons I kind of cut down on streaming. You might see it in my old arena stream or whatever. I used to get interrupted by the train all the time. It's still going. Like my entire room is like shaking a little bit because it's got some pretty heavy cargo on it. All right, possible loot. All right, so it's got random cabin generation for when you're inspecting other people's cabins. It's not too bad. Got random loot for when you're looting other people's cabins, just in case you're that kind of player. Yeah, it's industrial. They move a lot of equipment around here. I live in Texas. We get a lot of field equipment moving by, and no matter where you are. Large loot. So this is all like miscellaneous stuff you can find in the place. But what happens on the ship? This is just like the key to the ship. So it gives you the list of NPCs in their rooms. But what happens? This is all like stuff that can happen on the ship, but it's not what actually happens. This is like all like minor stuff. Like there's gnomes and orcs. This game is essentially Risk for 2 players. So you can watch them play a game of Risk. During the game, they may chat with the gnomes, discover their names and backgrounds, etc. Okay. Then you've got a bar with some drinks you can get. This is all like descriptions, though. What actually happens? Got a halfling you can talk to. So you've got this big monologue, right? And you got this gnome telling him about what's what, about the history of the area. And then, and I actually love this adventure. Just graduated another plus in my eyes because it goes on and on about the background of the setting that the writers came up with, and then in the DM's text, at this point, the players, unless they happen to be lore geeks like us, will get bored of this monologue. They are really self-aware, and I love that. I love that. That's probably that. I mean, look, this is King Zadwer. I don't even know what happens in this adventure. I'm going to post the link. I'm going to post the link for those who want. It's a pay what you want adventure. It's really interesting so far, and I don't even know what happens in it. It's just got an airship. You're aboard an airship. You've got all of this intrigue with these various gnomes and these revolutionaries aboard the ship. And here's what actually happens in the party. So in the party, the guests are in the lounge, I guess, readying for the party. You've got the beginning of it. You've got the dance. They can dance with each other or any of the NPCs, provided they pass a charisma check. So if you can't pass that charisma check, you are just SOL. You've got a jousting match. After some time has passed, an uncomfortable event will happen. I didn't see a trigger warning for that. That's good. Two of the rich gnomish passengers get drunk and decide to organize a little game. Oh, don't tell me they're going to... You hear a commotion from the middle of the room. Two of the gnome passengers seem to be in some sort of a drunken quarrel. Now, what did you say about my wife, you pig? Says Lowbrow. I demand satisfaction. Very well, responds Flagellant. A good old-fashioned jousting match should do just fine. He then proceeds to summon two of the waiters. Oh, God, oh no. Get over here, you two. Bring some brooms and get on all fours. The waiters are obviously uncomfortable about this whole event, but the first officer nudges them to grant the request. They're going to have no... Oh, Jesus, they've got it illustrated. Oh, no. Oh, God. That's funny as hell. So it all gets rowdy because there's a literal joust where gnomes are riding humans. If no one intervenes, Flagellant will ultimately win, much to the dissatisfaction of Lowbrat's wife. Then a player may challenge the winner to another match, although any PC of a size larger than small will be denied. So if you're playing a gnome or a halfling, that gives you a chance to ride a waiter into a jousting match with brooms. Alright, so you get all this party stuff going on, then you get the attack. Before anything, it should be noted that from this point on, the players are on a timer. They have 60 minutes before the Black Scarves escape via parachute, and after that 30 more minutes to take control of the airship until it crashes into the mountain. So this puts things on a heavy time. Okay, so there's an attack after the party, and they have a timer to fix everything, and if they fail, they've got a further timer to fix the airship. Neat. The gnome officer who has previously organized the dance silences the band, takes the stage once again. He's beginning to begin a speech when the doors burst open and 6 people wearing black scarves over their faces and heavily armed burst inside. 2 of the guests also pull masks over their faces, pull out their weapons, and point them at the audience in case you didn't see their faces before. We're the Black Scarves, liberators of Moscopolis. We are seizing the goods and fattest bourgeois pigs aboard this vessel. Yes, do you get to dump them over? Please tell me you get to dump them overboard. I guess you have to subdue them. So you deal with the attack. There's a scuffle if the PCs... There's a lot of if the PCs don't react. I guess they know the kind of players some people have. Because a lot of them are just going to stand by and let this happen. So the attack happens. If you win, you get to search the area looking for more of them. I love this adventure. I've already linked it. It's King Zadwer Balanescu. Any adventure in which you can fight revolutionaries and potentially dump them over the side of an airship is freaking awesome. Jousting on waiters notwithstanding. Wait, what is this? It's an orc with a minigun? Hold on a second. I want to find out if this is actually an orc with a minigun. Yeah, if an orc showed up with that, I would be kind of scared. The swordsman is operating the heavy machine gun. So there is a heavy machine gun. Oh my god. Got the cargo bay. Cargo bay's got a map on the bottom. If the Black Scars manage to leave the airship in an orderly fashion, all the parachutes will either be taken or destroyed, and the only way to follow them is to provide enough featherfall for everyone to make it out to the ground safely. In any other case, the players will have the choice to pursue the enemy or stay on the ship. If they pursue the enemy, the GM should assume that the NPCs aboard the King Zadwer Balanescu managed to somehow contact Moscopolis and survive. So they're not going to crash the NPCs without you being there unless you give them good reason. I can appreciate that. Yeah, okay, I'm done with this. This is awesome. This is too awesome. It's got stats for everybody. This is just awesome. Okay, let's move on. I'm sorry that I got involved with that. All right, now we're gonna move on from adventuring to like actual role-playing games, like whole new. And these are pretty short. The first one is called Gobbos, a role-playing game for silly goblins. And it is by T.H. Ravencroft. So it's a freeform improvised narrative game for friends to act like goofball goblins on adventures large and small. So it does use D6s. You need some way of making notes. Make your character creation. You pick your goblin's name, what they look like, who are their friends and who are their enemies. What's your favorite goblin thing? So this is narrative. So it's really abstract. What's the mechanic? Every goblin knows that getting ready and packing are extremely important. So where are you going? How to get there? So you got to decide where your characters are adventuring to. And since they're goblins, you can't bring along a lot. The trip to their destination takes the goblin party approximately as many turns as there are goblins in the group. This is because goblins are easily distracted and there are lots of interesting things to look at. At the beginning of the turn, go around the group by rolling a d6 and going from smallest number to largest, or whatever order feels best. We know roughly where they're going, but what terrain do they see along the way, what do they eat, etc. At any time, a goblin may stop the group to do a thing, like eat or find food, sit under a mushroom and gnat, catch a turtle, etc. So this is not what I expected, but it's kind of cute. So you leave it all up to the players, is what they see, what they think about, etc. So it's really more like a collaborative writing thing. And in terms of goblins, they seem more like the goblins you'd see in mythology. Alright, I can dig that. Alright, so that's Gobbos, a role-playing game for silly goblins. There's not a lot to say there. It's got classical artwork. It's a collaborative storytelling game. The only reason it uses d6 is to determine order. That's about it. It's basically like Cops and Robbers with a die roll. Like, not even that. The next one I just selected for the title alone. It's called My Own Dungeon with Blackjack and Hookers. And it's a zine, so it's printed to be like... that means there's stuff like there's going to be on the Switch side. It means it's going to be... it's only like 2 pages. So I guess these are meant to be folded out and then put together. Yeah, this looks like something I need. You'd need to take a look at. Make up statistics that describe the different things that you can do. Like, so this is all like just. This is a basic framework of something. This isn't actually. This isn't actually a completed role-playing game. It's just a framework kit. Oh, and I was attracted by the title. It gives you a resolution mechanic, a 3d6 resolution mechanic. But aside from the basic resolution mechanic, everything's on you to make up. I can't analyze that. I cannot analyze that. It's got basic resolution rules, and that's about it. And it's got more rules than I thought. It's just that they're all geared towards very, 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 very abstract things. That's My Own Dungeon with Blackjack and Hookers. I expected more of that. I expected more than that. I can't really analyze that because there's nothing to analyze. Dusk sequence is next. Give me something to analyze. A carousel role-playing game. What does that mean? Of teen horror. Okay, this is another one. I did look at this one before. This one does have the usual, like, warnings and such. because it's geared towards younger people, and I'm a little more lenient. Okay, so it does have an extensive content warning. And it does recommend that well, it doesn't necessarily recommend, but it flat out assumes that you're going to be using some sort of whatever the kids are doing these days with the cards and stuff to overrule stuff that happens. Which I have my own thoughts on. Not all bad. You'd think I was going to completely dismiss that stuff. No, but if you're in a group where you have to regularly use something like that, you might want to reconsider your group. One of the reasons I don't use that in my groups is because, quite frankly, I know my groups well enough that I don't push the boundaries, and I know who may push the boundaries. But if you don't know your group, then I could completely seeing something like a strike to make sure that you don't do something. Like if you're playing like in a randomized group, that's one thing. But if you're playing in a group of people that you know and you're finding yourself in need of a system like that, you need to reevaluate your group. Anyway, it's basically young adult horror like Goosebumps and such. So you're playing teens in a horrific world, except not really super horrific, just kind of horrific. You sneak into forbidden or abandoned or otherwise spooky places. So it's like urban exploration / creepypasta the game. And you take turns being the DM or the GM or the storyteller or whatever. It's a tabletop role-playing game, which means it's a game about telling and participating in stories. That's not really what a tabletop role-playing is, but I guess you can say that. Everyone at the table will create a storyteller. One of the kids is a member of the secret club. So it's like in Goosebumps, where it's like a secret club of kids that are exploring things. Everyone will also be playing as one of the characters inside each of the stories. So you create 2 characters. Okay. So, and then you take turns. In Dusk sequence, there is still a GM, but the person currently in charge of GMing changes based on whose storyteller is sharing their tale. So as soon as one story ends and another begins, somebody else becomes the GM. That's okay. That's okay, and I do like that because it gives everybody a chance to play. As they say, they legitimately just say that right there. Everyone gets a chance to play, and because sometimes I get tired of GMing everything. Of course, I say that, and then like the very next day, I come up with something I want to run. So, there is that. There is a trade-off. If you're a GM and you're used to it, there's usually a reason why. Campfire Mode is the game's default mode. It takes place in the real world of the game at whatever secret or remote site the kids have picked out for their club's meeting. In Campfire Mode, there is no GM. The players can talk in character, freely establish details about the scene, and generally build atmosphere until one storyteller announces that they have a tale to share. So eventually, like you're playing kids around a campfire, and then one says, I got a story, and then that person kicks in to be the GM, and the others play the players in it. In the event of a disagreement between players during Campfire Mode, usually over something such as whether one character hits another, etc., the group votes on the outcome. If the vote results in a tie, all aggressive actions fail, and the person who gets to tell their story first or establish scene detail conclusively or resolve randomly. I don't know if I like voting by outcome. Because there's always going to be that one dude that everybody votes against. And if you're that one dude, you're going to get screwed. Then there's Ghost Mode, wherein the storyteller telling the story is the GM and everyone else plays a subject. Each story concludes whenever the last of the subject is dead, and then the group just... Or whenever the GM decides it's done, so you can let some escape. You don't have to kill them all. That would be funny. If like it was so sensitive about horror and stuff and then required you to kill all the subjects. That would be hilarious. Oh, God. Once every character has had a chance to tell a story, the Dusk sequence begins. When the Dusk sequence begins, the players immediately all stop and vote on which storyteller has secretly attracted the attention of a real supernatural menace. So it's like in those like anthology movies where they're telling stories and then like there's like an overarching story. But again, they all vote, so there's going to be one person who's going to be screwed. That storyteller's player then except this time, that storyteller's player then narrates the menace appearing, killing off their storyteller, and then they become the GM for the final game mode. So that's actually not too bad. So you get to vote on who get. Well, I guess that's not too bad, unless you've got a group like mine where they're just like, okay, yeah, RPG Crawler is going to be the GM every time. I wouldn't play this game because I'd just end up GMing the whole thing. But I can see if you've got a group that's got a more like dynamic decision in that, then I can totally see that working. All right, what's the resolution system? It's supposed to be a one evening thing, but it can be split into multiple sessions. If no one wants to GM the final mode, no one has to. The game can simply end without a supernatural threat being introduced. All right. You get 3 traits: the storyteller, guts, smarts, and flex. All start at 0 and go as high as 5. You distribute 7 points between them. Each time a ghost mode begins, each player that isn't GM should build a subject. So you build the subject on the spot each time. Subjects are built with the same way as storytellers, but with one difference. Each subject begins play with 15 Dusk chips. Dusk chips and traits are used together to determine whether subjects overcome the obstacles in front of them or whether they inch towards their bad end. Making safety checks for more. The game starts in Campfire Mode. I've got that. So you make characters on the spot. During Ghost Mode, whenever a situation comes up where it's not certain whether a subject will succeed at a task and where the results are also important to the story, the GM can solve for a safety check. To pass a safety check, any subjects who are involved must compare their most relevant trait against a target number of 5. Subjects can temporarily boost their trait for a single safety check by spending Dusk chips. So once they run out of Dusk chips, they are SOL. Okay. The failing subject also persists in the danger tracks. There's a lot to keep track of for an on-the-fly thing. Danger track makes them gradually more panicky. I like the mechanics, sort of. Because it does simulate that sort of, like, the genre that is aiming for is like an anthology type thing where people get picked off one by one and then things gradually become more and more frantic as the story goes on, and it simulates that, and that's all you can really ask for. Alright, so I'm gonna... That's not a bad game. That is Dusk Sequence. I will put a link in the description. That's not a bad game. There are 5 more things I want to take a look at, and one of them is really long, and I'm only going to skim through it. Let's take a look at Hamsters in Space next. This is going to be real quick. I only picked it because of the title, Hamsters in Space. How can you not love this title? You are a crack team of galactic troublechewers, deployed into spaces too small for larger operatives to handle. You and your team are skilled in solving a wide range of spaceship-related problems, from internal damage from that recent battle with Gardzak Armada to computer malfunctions and microprocessors too complicated for any drone to repair. Copy editor, please, but you are a sentient rodent. A hamster, a chinchilla, a rat, a bat, a mouse, or a guinea pig. Please pick or work with your cheese master to create a position for them to fill. This is goofy, but it's exactly why I took it. Give them a hobby. So you get a profession or a position and then a hobby, and I'm presuming that it's just real cut and dry, real quick. Hamsters in Space has 2 stats: hamster and space. Hamster is used for physical things. Space is used for brainy stuff. Okay, to figure your stats, you have 7 points divided amongst them. The highest one can either be 6, and therefore the lowest you can start with is 1. But be careful, your stats can change in play. Each trouble chewer starts with a chewer suit 5700. Design your ship ball. Get together with your crew, decide the layout of your ship ball. It should include a bridge, 2 extra rooms of your group's choosing, and then 1 room for each character set up to their personal liking. You get a name? Okay. An episode of Hamsters in Space should have a unique setting, some sort of space structure. The setting should be in the site of some sort of static objective which the team has their mission. So it's mission-based. Yeah, that airship one was awesome. And thanks for watching. You know, I get one of these a month out because it takes me every time. Okay. Here's what happens. Every time I do my RPG news roundup, now I just look for anything that's free or pay what you want, and I just put it aside. And once I get enough to fill like a couple hours, like how long have I been streaming now? How long have I been streaming? Let me take a look. I have been streaming for. Oh, come on, machine. How long have I been streaming? Give me a second. For an hour and 46 minutes. So every time I get enough to get like about 2 to 2.5 hours together, I go ahead and run one of these. And that ends up being once a month. So next week, I'm not going to be doing one of these, but I will try to be streaming because I want to start streaming once a week. And next week, I will just be streaming another computer game. And I'll probably be taking a look at World of Horror because I like it. I may try to get Vagris or something. I know that the creator of that has invited me to check it out whenever I want, so I may take a look at that. But I'll do like some sort of early access or indie type game for a role-playing game for that. Anyway, let me get back to this. Hamsters in Space. Here's just some sample missions. In addition to the challenge of completing the mission, there should be a more active and unexpected opposition that will complicate things. So it's all very formulaic. But that's to be expected because you're basically doing like a week-by-week sci-fi thing, except hamsters. What is the action resolution? A D6 trying to get under the value of their appropriate stat. If they fail the check, on a 6, the troubleshooter has utterly failed their attempted task by encouraging them to take a violently different tactic. They then raise the opposite stat by 1. Okay. So you can. So if you fail, like you only have 2 stats, and they can go up and down depending on whether you succeed or not. That's interesting. I mean, let's face it. The whole purpose of this particular This right here, this image right here, I don't know if I'm doing it right. Whatever. This image on screen right now is exactly why you download this thing. There's no other reason to download this particular RPG except if this image appeals to you. If you like the idea of playing a hamster in space, then this is the game for you. It's real simple. It's got 1d6 resolution. There's not much more to say about it. It's like 6 pages long, including an entire page, well, not an entire page, but most of a page devoted to a picture of a hamster. So, there's that. I'll put a link in there. This is Hamsters in Space. Pay what you want. Excuse me. I got like a persistent my voice has been on and off for weeks now, and I don't know, I probably should see a doctor or something, but I think it's just a persistent sinus infection that's kind of going over. It's unfortunate. The Wweird Zzine for the Ruined World is next, and the Wweird Zzine for the Ruined World is it is by Eldrad Wolfsbane. Now, Eldrad Wolfsbane has been on... I've had one of the products on my channel before. Decent at mechanics, not so great on layout. So, the Wweird Zzine is... It's got caution adult content. Making 5th edition old school 5th edition without changing the rules. Magic items in the Ruined World. So this is like a zine of a setting. The Ruined World is a sandbox. It's back to the old expeditionary style that it was at the dawn of role-playing game. This is a zine and mini-campaign setting for 5th edition OGL. Bloody Sword's Edge with this. Yeah, I'm not going to read some of this. Not safe for work. This setting does not give anything, not give an F about your feelings. In some cases, this game will have sensitive subjects. So this is just an old school style thing. Yeah, Eldrad Wolfsbane. I've read some of that material is awesome, but it's very traditional. And the way this the design always goes for, you see this like very plain typeface with stock art, which is a lot better than some of it had like hand drawn art. I prefer the stock art, honestly, but the mechanics are usually decent. So this is taking advantage of the fact that 5th edition is a little bit rules light. So this deals with making it deadlier. Yeah, I get this. Listen, I'm gonna read this because this strikes true. Now, what it lacks, according to the old school hacks, old ancient lords known as grognards, is the easy death rate. I hear the complaint that it's too hard to die because of the healing rules. Guess they have not played in any of my games. I would like to second that. I have no problems. Just destroying characters in my game. Now, it gets harder later on, but especially at lower to mid levels, I got no problem killing characters in my 5th edition games. It's a little bit harder than in true OSR stuff, but it's like this. In a true OSR game, like a retro clone or something, I have an easier time accidentally killing characters. You see where I'm going with this? In a 5th edition game, if I want a character dead, they're dead, man. Because I have no problem having, like, if somebody goes down, I got no problem having like a goblin. If they go down in the midst of a bunch of goblins, I got no problem having them dragged off and just executed while they're down. If there's an animal that has pounced on somebody and it hasn't been chased away yet, I got no problem with that animal starting to drag them off and things like that. And so, yeah, you can kill characters in a 5th edition game relatively easily. So you just have to, you basically have to make them earn it. And one of the game I'm running right now for my Tuesday group, that's the same group that I ran the Tomb of Annihilation stuff for. I've finished that campaign, by the way. It's still uploading. I'm running an OSR adventure entitled it's not really an adventure, it's like really more of a campaign, and entitled The Black Ridge Barony. And it is very OSR inspired to the point where I had all of the players make 2 characters. We've got 10 characters in it right now. I've got another person about to join that's going to add 2 more. And it's all about like sandbox adventure. It's all pretty hyper deadly. And with that many characters, advancement is almost as slow as in the old school style, like 1st edition stuff. So 5th edition, you can, even though it's got a faster character track and everything, you can very much play it OSR, old school style. So yeah, I will give it to that. Use exhaustion levels. Yes, I need to use this more in mine. You also really need to be really strict on encumbrance on supplies. Yes, you can't carry everything. This is all stuff that adds in for 5th edition. That if you want to bring 5th edition to old school stylings, you need to do this. Food and water, that gets trivialized by spells, but it's useful. In fact, my group's about to come into that problem pretty fast. Basically, you use the optional rules, and 5th edition does become a lot deadlier. Yeah, this is all guidelines to making stuff feel old school. This is the Wweird Zzine for the Ruined World. It does have a useful calendar. That's one thing I always had trouble assembling. And this is like a setting description of the Ruined World. I'm not reading a lot of this, but it's all... this all seems to be very... I want to say like... not Middle Ages, but like 17th century style. I'm not reading through this because this dude cusses a lot more than... I'm trying to cut back on my profanity. And this guy has quite a bit in it. And I don't mind reading it, but I'm not going to read it on a live stream. Thank you, YouTube, for making me change how I operate. Yeah, this is very 17th century. They've got, or hell, even borderline 18th century. They've got like the equivalent of like Tsarist Russia. It's actually surprisingly well put together. A pirate king, King Shark the Tiefling, who seems to be like Jack Sparrow except better. I was gonna say, is that the dude from You Banished Privateers? But no, it's not. Good group if you ever want some historical pirate. Or they're not historical, but they do. Yeah, You Banished Privateers is neat. Yeah, they got like the Ottoman. That one was this one. Here we go. It's yeah, they got different noble houses. Yeah, it's not a bad setting. It's not a bad. It's got a little bit of everything in there. I'm not going to go into. I'm not going to go into in depth. I'll put a link. Let me get the link up right now, because this is one of those ones that you may want to explore on your own time. But yeah, Eldrad Wolfsbane. What is it? I took a look. Eldrad Wolfsbane, right? Yeah, Eldrad Wolfsbane. He's done some other stuff that's worth looking into. He's good on content. You get used to his presentation. Yeah, I mean, you can tell right here. This is like the best presentation I've seen from him. Yes, look at this. The Adventurers Guild. The long-term goals and the character creation. The idea originally started out as another option to Adventurer League that had strayed too far from the 5th edition Raw and did not let players bring their old characters to the new campaigns. The AL also is not allowed for any outside and unofficial content. The AGU is all about that, so this is apparently an attempt to make like a parallel like group for the official Adventurer League. No politics. I don't blame him on that, man. I can't blame him on that. Wants to do is bring organized play that is completely independent and free of the restrictions of the current organized play, and try and use the Raw along with any official and unofficial content to raise money for various charitable causes. The current creator, the Adventurers Guild Unlimited, will be trying to formulate how to create the AGU and organize it for world building modules, organized play. So it's still in the idea point. Character creation. Yeah, so this is basically ideas for a adventure. Oh, and this is an actual adventure for low-level characters. I'm gonna skip this. I'm gonna go to the next one. And this is just a description of upcoming stuff for the same setting. Yeah, I'm gonna skip this. The Wweird Zzine for the Ruined World. It looks like a good start. I will give it that. All right. I've got 3 more things to look at, one of which is really long. I don't know that I'm going to spend a lot of time on 2 of them, though. I'm going to look at Jaunt, a quest hack, real quick. Better quality art than I've seen. It is worth noting that Jaunt is a hack and direct descendant from the Quest role-playing game, sharing most of its rules under a Creative Commons license. I don't know what the Quest role-playing game is. I'm gonna just flat out say that I don't know what Quest role-playing game is. Let me take a look. Quest role-playing game. What is Quest? Adventure.game, if you're interested. It's a storytelling game. Storytelling D20 game. Apparently a lot of people that I don't really follow, a lot of people that I know about but don't really follow like it, so take that as you will. Alright, I'm trying to read it quickly. Tells you the basics of role playing. Tells you how to deal with scenes. This is all basic stuff. General rules: be respectful, of course. Respect boundaries. Yeah, this is like basic decency rules. Let your friends talk. Share the story. Be nice to your guide. Silence your phone. Yeah. Ask for consent. It's against the rules for player characters to attack other party members. I guess that's like new school. I don't know. I let my players attack each other if they want, but I also let my players respond to those attacks. So it's all in good fun. But I guess if you're in a group that doesn't understand good fun, then yeah, don't be evil unless. So no evil, people. Be mindful of secrets. Okay, so basically keep out of character and in character knowledge separate. Speak clearly, and yeah, it's all basic stuff. Be a fair guide. The guide's job is to narrate the story. This is all real basic. It's all real basic. Let's look at the mechanics. Players roll the die in Quest to let fate decide what happens next. The guide will ask players to roll when they try to do something risky or when chance makes things fun. Characters must roll every time they make a basic attack. So you get a 20, it's a triumph, automatically success. 11 and 19, success. 6 to 10, tough choice. You succeed, but there's a cost. 1 to 5 is failure, you just fail, and then 1 is a catastrophe. So there's no real, I guess there's no real allowance for like scalable difficulty, but I've seen things that use a similar system before. It's not difficult. I actually don't mind it. When the guide will call for a roll, tells you when to roll. Only roll once. Stakes and odds. You only roll, let's say a player rolls on a success and attack. The outcome of that roll is all the guide needs to decide the consequences for the entire situation. Because the player was successful, it is assumed that the target of the attack was not successful in avoiding it. So yeah, so you don't roll versus rolls. Okay. Setting up any roll is done by the first defining success. If the character is trying to topple a pillar onto a bunch of foes, it is a success. The pillar following, or the pillar crushing the foes. After defining success, the guide can consider the setbacks of a tough choice. Okay. Guide rolls are public. Guides must make their rolls in public view just like all the other players. Guides, if it's not something you're willing to roll for in front of other players, don't roll at all. Ugh. There's this fundamental idea that DMs need to roll in front of people. And the point of the matter is that if you're not willing to roll for in front of players, don't roll at all, stands even in a game that's not like Jaunt or Quest. Because the DM always has the ability to just overwhelm the players. So there's no use distrusting your DM on rolls, because they can simply add more, like, they can add more challenge. So if you don't trust your DM on rolls, then why are they even DMing? The only the only time I fudge rolls as a DM, when it is, and I hide a lot of rolls as a DM. The only reason I fudge rolls as a DM is to try to save people, or to try to introduce necessary story elements while they can be. Like, I'll do adventures where it's important for characters to meet somebody, and sometimes there is a roll involved to see whether they meet them. I will fudge since I roll behind the screens, I will say that they succeeded in meeting them even if they didn't, if it's required for the story. I guess you could just forego the roll, but then there's a psychological thing with the player. If you simply forego the roll, then the player knows it was never possible to fail. They have to think in some instances. Let's say they have to meet an NPC because that NPC has an important piece of information. But you do not want it absolutely clear to the players that that important piece of information is important. It may just be a rumor or whatever, but they have to get it. So it has to be in the player's mind a chance that they failed to meet this NPC, even if there was no chance. And if you hide the roll, you can ask them to make a roll to like a track them or whatever, and they can make that roll, and then you can decide it passes just to get them the NPC, and that way they still made the roll. In their minds, there was still some chance of them failing. So that means that they're going to approach it differently than if they simply said they were going to track it, and you just said flat out with no roll that you track him down. It puts the players in a different mindset. So that's why I'm kind of like this about keeping rolls all the way out in the open all the time. I mean, it does make it fair, but at the same time, if you're distrusting your DM that much that you're doubting their hidden rolls, then why are you even playing? Anyway, let me continue onward. Basic unarmored attack, deal 1 damage. Common weapons, deal 2. So you only got 1 or 2. And it gives you examples of rolls. Other mechanics, you get 6 special abilities of your choice. Each ability is part of a learning path. Players may choose abilities from any path. You get keywords that you get to apply to things. You get rules for buying things and trading. These are all very simple. Adventure points are like hit points, or adventure points like hit points represent a mix of things. Adventure points don't recharge automatically. You get adventure points during play, I guess. 1 each hour, and they're just used for activating abilities. Okay. So it's like almost a real-time cooldown system. Character roles. Oh, they got Alice in there. Nice. Defender, you got a Guardian Protector. The Tinker, which is basically your rogue. The Divine, which is your priest, I guess. And then the Nomad, who is just weird. God help me. Name, pronouns. I like to screw with people when they insist on asking me for my pronouns. Yes, I am RPG Crawler. My pronouns are his lordship and your lordship. You shall refer to me as such. And if you don't, you'll get in trouble. Alright, the worksheet. Distinctive features. This is all very abstract. This is incredibly abstract. Although I can understand if you're playing like a creature or something, that might be more important and might take away from that. This is all very abstract. And these are, I guess, the abilities that the protector can get. So you've got an escort path, a takedown path, and a warder path. And the Tinker has preparation, acquisitive, and experimentation. And each of these traits gives you like an entirely different group of abilities to get. And it says you can pick them from any path, so you can assemble a really interesting build. I do wish that they put something like trees in here. Like something is required before you can get something else. But this one seems to be like this one. You can actually, the Nomad, you can actually make Alice. That's funny. The guide. This is just telling you what the DM does, basically. Alright. Well, I'm going to head on out. That's an interesting one. It's Jaunt, and it's a quest hack. I wouldn't play it, but if you're into that thing, that sort of thing, there it is. Like, seriously, the best bonus point is it's got Alice in it. I'm a big Alice in Wonderland fan. What's next? The Land of M. Now, this has several rulebooks. It is in beta testing, apparently. They've got a quick start guide and a rulebook. It is 181 pages. I'm not going to go through it completely. I'm going to scan through it. The artwork is very loose. Based on a fantasy graphic novel series, Rickety Skitch and the Gelatinous Goo. So that may explain why the artwork is extremely loose. And very... It's not necessarily even cartoony. It's like hand-drawn, not... Like almost sketched. Standard polyhedral dice used. Em is a land of color and wonder, a world with many storied regions and realms, bustling with diverse cultures and teeming with a plethora of characters and creatures. But Em is also a land in decay, for the great civilizations of the past crumbled long ago at the hands of the mysterious Gloom King. Ever since, the world has declined into an untamed, unchecked land, filled with all manner of monsters and fiends, fearsome warlords, and more recently, greedy tycoons, ultimately ushering in an unruly age of industry called the Dungeon Era. The southern realm, known as the Mucklands, is the seat of goblin industrialist power, chaotically run by rival corporations in a never-ending quest to outdo one another in business and expansion. All the while, average folk toil away in mines, factories, and dungeons, eking out a meager existence. This is like... What the... It's like your generic industrialists are bad. Inspired by games like Dungeon World, Star Wars Edge of the Empire, Blades in the Dark, The Black Hack. I like The Black Hack. Maze Rats. That one was decent too. This is a playtest version. All classes have 10 levels and 20 abilities each. There's 30 adversaries. It gives you the information on helping them playtest. To make a check, roll 1d12 and then add or subtract the modifier of the skill that's being used. And it once again gives you the a kind of a just like the one that we just talked about, the Jaunt. It's got a static success list, which I believe was picked up from somewhere else. It's very similar scaled success interpretation with examples. It does have an advantage and disadvantage mechanic, just like 5th edition, and that's one of the better 5th edition things that I've seen. Proficiencies and deficiencies. They're situational advantages. Give you your basic, what is expected of you, which I guess attributes: Vim, Vigor, and Knack. These are and know-how. Those are your stats. I'm presuming. is kind of a... It looks like it's kind of a mix. So Vim modifies courage. Vigor modifies attack. Knack is defense. And know-how is quest points. Courage, attack. Defense and quest points. Quest points represent your adventuring savvy, your will to succeed, and perhaps a bit of luck. You can use it once per session to activate class abilities or perks. So similar to the one I just covered, Jaunt. You can use your quest points to activate abilities and such as well, but as well as to increase checks. And this gives you your specific skills, which are associated with each. Wait, no, they aren't. With adventure ideas. Oh man, maze rats. I don't know about free. I don't know about free. I will have to take a look at free. But for like adventure ideas generation, when I can't think of it myself, my go-to, and it's not free. It's been out for a long time. It's been out for a very long time. I've got a review of it. Tome of Adventure Design from Frog God Games. It's just got tables upon tables of anything you might want for any kind of OSR or vaguely OSR similar thing. You've got dungeon rooms, you got NPC designs, and these are system generic. So even though it's kind of built for Pathfinder, it's system it doesn't really have many stats in it. So this is more along the lines of designing villains or designing other NPCs' motivations, how they look. You can do entire dungeons in this thing. You can, it's just got tables for literally everything. This is my go-to thing for it. It's excellent. But as for free, let me think. I'll have to think about that. I will have to think about that. Because Tome of Adventure Design has it's just so good, and since I have it, I never really looked into anything else. Any of these minor ones give it. No. I know that I've seen some free stuff that has good tables. I do not remember what they were though. I'll have to take. I'll get back to you on that. Yeah. Yeah, I can totally buy. I can totally get when you can't justify spending money. But it is totally worth. Check out my review on it. It's one of my older reviews, so my format wasn't exactly the best at the time, but I think I tried to give a decent review of it a while back. I will keep an. Tell you what, you regularly watch my channel. I've seen you in my comments. I appreciate that you watch my channel a lot. I will look. I will look around over the coming, I guess, week or so, and see if I can't find any good generation, any good free products with generation tables. And I don't know. I'll figure something out. I may do a video on it. I don't know. Otherwise, I'll do something. But yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Metal, perception, these are all skills. These are all telling you what each skill does on each one. And they're all associated with a stat. Oh, man, that looks like something I drew. That's the kind of art I do for my games. That's why I never do like proper artwork for my stuff. These are abilities. All your things that you activate with quest points. These are your classes. These are all your these are all basic classes. Gnomes are a class. So it's like it's not race's class except for gnomes. Gnomes, you're your own class. Session 0. I never use Session 0 like an official one. It's gained. I can see why people use it, but I never use Session 0. I mean, I guess technically I do, but Like, thing is, I don't. Again, the TTRPG Safety Toolkit by Kiana Shaw. I feel like I'm almost afraid to look at that shit. But the thing about Session 0 is that I know my groups well enough that I don't need one a lot of times. And if I do, like if I'm getting a new group, I don't devote an entire session to it, but I do let them know what's going on. So I'll be blunt. I'll be like, hey, I'm running a horror-themed, low fantasy, low magic adventure. You're going to see some pretty brutal things. I'm using a combination of Berserk, Goblin Slayer, with a dash of the Lodos Wars just for the overall political situation. Do you want to roleplay in that? And yeah. And the thing about that is then I'll say, do you think you would play in that? And what happens is that I always know in my games, I always know that because I know my players, I know which of the people that I know will go in any one game. I honestly, and I will admit, I have the advantage of knowing a large group of players well enough that I can pick and assemble a team that will fit with everything. Black Ridge Barony, I didn't use a player's guide, but I did do a campaign background. And the thing about it is that I always know that there's going to be at least one person that I constantly play with that no matter how much I tell them about the background of the game, they're always going to make something that doesn't fit in the first time. And I'm always going to have to tell them it doesn't fit in, and then the second character is going to fit in. And it's the same person every time, no matter what the setting is. So it's like, with me, Session 0, I can see where a lot of people will use them. For me, it's almost a waste of time because I know my players well enough that all they'll need is a very basic like description while we're making characters. And I use that first session to basically tell them how they're coming in. While they're making characters, I'm telling them about the setting as they're making the characters. And then we decide basically how the characters are in the story. And I don't necessarily... I don't say like... I don't give adventure hooks either. But what I do is I say, okay, well, I guess I kind of do. I say, okay, this is what the adventure is about. I need you to figure out why your character's there. And I put it on them. Because if they create a character, even if it fits in with the setting, and they don't have a reason to be on the adventure, I've had people like expect to be handheld into the adventure, even if I've given them a complete background. So I guess I kind of use Session 0, but it's not a formal thing. But anyway, if I've had people who make a character and then say that, well, my character wouldn't be on that adventure, and I would say, okay, make another character, because it's not my responsibility to play babysitter. If you want to play the game, make a character that will get involved. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I guess it's kind of like, I guess I do Session 0, but very informally, because I'll usually run right into playing the game on that first session. Maybe not to get adventure, but to introduce the characters to one another. So everybody's made their character during the session or a little bit before it, and then they all sit down and I'm telling them about the story while they're filling in all their inventory and stuff, and then I roll right into character introductions, have the first characters coming together, starting on their adventure, and if that's all I get done, that's all in the same session. So I guess I kind of use Session 0, I just don't set it apart. I can see where the benefit is, though. I can see where the benefit is. Anyway. Oh, it uses ideals, flaws, relationships, and personal quests. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like informal. So this game uses ideals and flaws as well as a personal quest. So this is this uses the 5th edition ideals and flaws thing. I've started to use personal quests or personal motivations on characters. It's like I've got a bad habit because I play mostly OSR stuff. I've got a bad habit when I'm running like 5th edition, and I've diverged way from talking about this. I'm gonna get back to this game in a second. But this matters because it's got like you spend experience to level up or to improve skills in this game. Let me get back to this game for a little bit because they'll get into flaws and stuff, and I'll talk about it then. So you can use experience either to level up or to improve skills. That's interesting. It's usually one or the other. It's rarely both. The artwork in this, oh my god. It's placeholder art because they're in beta. Okay, there's character creation steps. Select a species. I like the use of species. If you're not gonna use race, like if you're gonna use a word other than race when you're designing this, when you're designing species to use in a game, I would so much rather see species than ancestries or heritage. Because as I said earlier in this stream, when somebody's using ancestry and heritage, it makes them sound like they've got like they're right from the clan, man. That's what the old school people use, man. The Bard. Okay. I don't know what Dread is. I think I skipped over that. Bards get an instrument. Bards get abilities. These abilities kind of sound like... These abilities kind of look like simplified... I want to say almost 4th edition type stuff. Because look at this. You got a different ability on each level. In 4th edition... had something similar, maybe not on each level, but you had abilities at each level. So this is almost like 4th edition based. Or this system, this Land of Eam beta, it seems to have taken stuff from like all kinds of different sources. Like right here, this is straight up 5th edition. You got ideals and flaws. You got one ideal, one flaw, one background. That's straight up from 5th edition. Personal quest. And here's where I'm going to say it. I'm real bad in 5th edition about using traits and flaws, ideals and flaws. So I often don't. I often forget to use it. So instead, what I've been doing is basically this whole personal quest thing. And I'll ask them, like, what does your character intend to do? And then instead of dealing with ideas, with flaws and such, I just give them inspiration whenever they advance their personal goal. So that gives them a goal to work for, and it helps me streamline granting inspiration. Now, most of my group still just sits on inspiration, so I don't actually end up using it that much. But okay, so the classes are the Bard, the Dungeoneer. Dungeoneers? You have a named NPC underling that follows you around and does stuff for you. That's funny. So you've got an automatic hireling as a Dungeoneer. That's hilarious. Bullwhip. So it's just a Dungeoneer is like a weird combination of Dungeon Crawler and Indiana Jones. This is funny. This is hilarious. Health insurance. Congratulations. You can now afford health insurance. Look, I'm going to be up front, man. This sounds like it was... I don't like some of the theming in this, of the Land of Eam beta. I don't... It disagrees with me, but it's hilarious. It's hilarious in a lot of ways, and I can appreciate that. Yeah, gnomes are like their own class rather than a species. And they look like garden gnomes. Great. I'm just going to skip most of these. What are the species? Hold on. My voice is beginning to go, and I still have one more to do after this. The Loyal Chum. That sounds like the fan, the adoring fan from Oblivion. The Rascal is your rogue. These are all classes. I guess these are your species. They've got a good range. They're kind of goofy, but you got Gnome is both a species and a class. Skeleton, sweet. You can be a skeleton. All right, I'm gonna skip the rest of this. It looks fun, but it is not for me. It looks fun. It's got a developed system. Look, I mean, it's got a developed world because it is based on something, I think. So it's got a properly developed world. The used to be forest. It's like this weird vision of this post-industrial hellscape in frivolous fantasy format. All right, later. You take care. You take care. Yeah, I'm almost done. My voice is about to give way here. Thanks for watching. I'm going to put the link to this in there. This is the Land of Eam Open RPG open beta. It's in beta. I'm presuming that means that'll be a paid for when it's done. So let me move on to the last thing that I'm going to cover. And I'm going to go through this one real quick, even though it's huge. The last thing I'm going to cover is the Gongfarmers Almanac 2020. This is available for free. And this is available, well, I guess it's free. Yeah, it is free. I'm going to put it up there. There are 16 volumes. They are available individually or in a group. I have put the link in. And it is a Dungeon Crawls Classic RPG zine. So it's a community zine. Based on Dungeon Crawl Classics. There is some stuff in here for Mutant Crawl Classics. So if you're a fan of those systems, I'm a fan of Dungeon Crawl Classics, even though I almost never get to run the thing. I am a fan of it. You may have noticed it's been kind of going on and off my shelf the last week or two. Is because I was trying to get people to run it, and I failed. I was trying to get a group to run it, and I failed. But it's a good system. So you've got adventures. This is just a zine. It's got miscellaneous stuff for Dungeon Crawl Classics. As you can see, some of them you've got adventures. Some of them you've got like new patrons. Some of them, as you get further in, you get new character classes in Volume 7. You get different options for character classes in Volume 8. New weapons and such in Volume 9. So this is available individually or in a 16-volume set. And, yeah. This is a group of adventures, and you can tell they're in the typical, or at least this first one's in the typical DCC RPG style with that beautiful isometric map. Even if overall it's kind of, it's a zero-level funnel, because you can never have enough zero-level funnels. They're looking for a cult. You've got it's a cult in a diamond mine, a blood diamond mine. I'm just gonna zoom through this because this is like 700 something pages long. It's got decent sized adventures. Another adventure. Does this have the map as well? No, this doesn't have a map. It should have a map. It's big enough to need a map. Let me take a look. Does this not have a map? No, I guess it doesn't. Oh, that's so sad. Alright. The second time around, another funnel adventure for level 0 PCs. 5-room dungeon concept with a few random generators. No map, it just uses 5 rooms. Again, not a huge fan of the 5-room dungeon concept, but I can see where it happens, where it helps. Hani Soit Baba. It's a level 1 DCC RPG in a semi-historical low fantasy setting. It does have a map. It's got a hex crawl map of a field. And the areas are set on it. English soldiers. Wait, what? You're a warband of mercenary soldiers hired by the Kingdom of France in dire straits against the English invasion in the 14th century. Okay. It's what, the beginning of the 100-Year War? Or it was before that, wasn't it? 100-Year War was what, the 1400s? So 14th century would be the 1300s. Now I'm confused. Now I feel like looking it up. I think that was the prelude to the 100-Year War. The pit? Where is the pit? What is the... Oh, the pit? Okay. So it goes from historical to all of a sudden there's magic. Okay. You go into a corrupted village, into a monster pit, and this is all these are all supposed to be people that like would exist in the 14th century. That's funny. Alright. That reminds me of a movie I once watched. Let's continue on. Okay, then you get Volume 2. Beauties, what? Hold on a sec. I'm scrolling too fast. 7 Beauties. A level 1 DCC RPG in the adventure, I'm presuming, in the Shutter Mountains. Shutter Mountains is like its own setting, I think. Yeah, I think it's its own available setting. Let me take a look. Shutter Mountains. That rings a bell. Yeah, there is a whole setting called the Shutter Mountains. It's like it's like weirdly. Yeah, it's like weirdly horror based. I'm sorry. I'm starting to flag here. Yeah, Gongfarmers Almanac. This is quality. This is quality here. I do recommend taking a look at it if you're interested in OSR stuff or specifically DCC RPG. But you can use a lot of stuff in here for any OSR RPG because DCC RPG is D20 based. So yeah, if you've got any DCC RPG, or if you've got any like D20 based old school adventure or old school system, you should be able to get some of this stuff. This should be reasonably compatible. Dead Dragon Peak. I love the artwork on some of these. This deals with a mountaintop. Okay, got clearly. I guess you're moving through a dragon's intestines. Oh, yuck. Yeah, you're moving through his. Yeah, they've literally got one called the intestines. Oh, yuck. So it's like a decaying dragon. I'm scrolling through this quick. Horde of the Metal Goddess. Love those. I love these isometric maps. All the way up until I try to use them in play. Then not so much. Yeah, I'm gonna skip through this real quick because I gotta go because my voice is starting to flag a lot. Down the Rabbit Hole, a DC Sun Funnel adventure. Not bad. This one even does like the town in isometric format. I like that. And then we got. I thought there was some Mutant Crawl classic stuff in here. It's got varying types of artwork. That's good. Oh, God. That is what you see down the rabbit hole. No! That's horrifying. And it's not even an enemy. The rabbit priest does not like humans, but he will listen to what the humans have to say and possibly not kill them. Oh, God. Alright. And this comes up a lot because that's the adventure. Descent into the Underhive. That's another DCC-RPG adventure. Yeah, this is neat stuff. Let's take a look at the classes. I remember there was classes in one of these. Well, these are monsters. Yeah, where's the classes? Wasn't that Volume 7? A Tarantino elf? Yeah, give me a second. Here. Human. It's a human-centric, because okay, this is just a description of why humans are... What is this? This is a racial class. This is a racist class for humans in a setting where humans are rare as the others. So this is basically the human class. This is the peasant class. I always wondered how that level 20 gnomish locksmith mentioned in the knock spell got so good at making locks. Okay, so this is just a peasant class. The Foul Summoner. You owe allegiance to no man. Your devotion lies with the majestic overseers of the world birds. Foul Summoner. Really? Really? Ideally, a party should only have one foul summoner because there has to be a pecking order. Oh, Jesus. And it gives you spells based on summoning birds. Martial Grand Master. In case you want to play one of the classic wuxia style martial artists. Tarantino elf. You're no ordinarily elf. You're a thug, a sword for hire, a quoter of scriptures, and a revenge seeker, a survivor. You left the Elf King and the Elf Lang and his Elf Land behind you long ago and set your own course. You're out for gold and probably blood. So you're an elf that's a gangster and a philosopher. So you're basically like the Pulp Fiction elf. That's why they call him the Tarantino elf. The Rune Master. No, the Hive Master. Yeah, I'm starting to fall asleep here. The Hive Master. So you're like, you're basically Eno from, or not Eno. You're basically Shino from. Is it Shino? You're the. That's gonna bother me now. Yeah, you're basically Shino Aburame from Naruto. You're the Hive guy. Wait, no. Am I really reading this? The Barbarian. You must realize that bears are awesome. That's the only prerequisite. It also helps to listen to Bears by Necrogoblicon. Necrogoblicon is hilarious, by the way. If you haven't listened to it, they're hilarious. I have not heard Bears. I will have to listen to that. Weapon training. Barbarians are trained in both dual claw and a bite natural. There's just a bear that's a barbarian. Oh my god, that bear's... Does a barbarian defecate in the woods? Oh my god. There's a bear with a morning star. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up here. Anyway, this is the Gongfarmers Almanac. It is goofy as anything, and as is typical for DCC RPG stuff. I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I'm going to leave this up as always. People seem to like these. I'll do another one again next month, whatever. Next week, going to play another game. I think it'll be... it'll probably be... it'll probably be World of Horror, unless I get some other stuff done. But and then tomorrow is going to be Indie Game Friday as usual. Anyway, until next time, take care and goodbye.